Thank you, Adiola, and thank you, Nigerians, for your support and prayers. Adiola, I must say that I think you actually got sent, and if you ever found the reason for journalism, this is it. You have opened your platform against all odds to give clarity to the situations at hand, and the last 3 interviews you did that were quite expository. I mean, they kind of paved a path towards this chaos that I found myself in. So thank you so much, and I hope today goes well. Thank you, Adiola. Indeed, before now, the Senate President and my husband were very good friends, and that accorded us a chance to attend to each other's social functions. And beyond that also, I'm a senator, so he's my, should I say, boss, well, even though we're colleagues. So in the course of work, there are times where I'll have to attend, events, and definitely pictures were taken, and then we have seen all of that on social media. But what I'd like to say is, beyond the pictures, behind the cameras, there's a whole lot that went wrong. And they've been going wrong since, I think, a month of me being in the Senate, which, like I did say, it started on the eve of his birthday in the year 2023. And that snowballed into a lot of unpleasant situations in the Senate there, a lot of which I tend to present before either the courts or the ethics committee or a panel that will be set up to investigate the matters of sexual harassment, which till today I've not been given a chance to tender my evidences. But let us talk about the issue that to many they think is just Natasha being stubborn and refusing to move her seat. If anyone takes or pays a close attention to that video, you will know that there is so much more than meets the eye. It was, I think, the peak of the many shoves that I had received in the Senate, and I told myself, never again, not anymore. And to those who think that it was my outbursts that led pretty much to my suspension or my outburst was unruly, I would like Nigerians to know that the outburst was a reaction to the Senate President telling me, telling the Sergeant at Arms to walk me out and calling on my suspension, which I want people to know that it was premeditated. Maybe if you could play a recap of that so we could have our minds freshened up a bit. So you can see, all I was doing at this point was reading my rights as a senator, invoking the order of privilege, which I have it here, which it says that whenever, that's chapter 4, item 9b, whenever a matter of privilege arises, it shall be taken up immediately. All the Senate President need to do at that point was allow me speak and give me a chance to explain why I do not want to change my seat, or why I would say, okay, I was not notified about the change of seat, or why I would prefer to retain that seat. He didn't allow me to complete my reading the order. All he said was, Sergeant at Arms, take her out. Clerk, prepare for her suspension. Now, any discerning mind will know that there was so much more than meets the eye on that day. That means behind there was already tension between us. There was already unspoken situation, a crisis, however you want to say, that people would think what it was probably Natasha refusing to move the seat. But no, the Senate President does not have the unilateral powers to suspend the senator right there. And at that point, I had not done anything wrong that warrants him ordering that I should be kicked out as if I was his domestic staff, or I was someone below him, or asking that they should prepare for my suspension immediately as if I was his employee and he was going to suspend me. That was it. So it was when I heard this, because apparently he didn't know that his microphone was on when he said they should prepare for my suspension. But I heard that, and that was my response, that I'm not afraid of you. You have done your worst. You have been silenced on the floor. I mean, if you watch the whole, I don't want to repeat that, but that was when my outburst was a reaction to what he already had done. And to think that I was further suspended, as they say, because of my outburst or because I refused to move my seat, it doesn't really tally. Yeah, but I believe that my suspension was largely because I voiced out the sexual harassment, because the suspension came a day after I tendered my petitions. And if you want to ask further, maybe people want to know a little bit about how it feels or how it felt like working with him. Mind you, this is my own, like I always say, whatever I put out are my own views, my own perception based on how he treated me or how he related with me. I'll just give one incident. And 3 months into me being the chairperson of the Committee on Local Content, we're in his office. Usually I tend to avail myself to, attend some meetings. Maybe he's receiving guests, ambassadors, or dignitaries from agencies or stuff. So I usually attend the meetings. So at one of those gatherings, he then went, Senator Uduaha, you haven't reported progress. And I was like, reported progress? He said, yes, that I'm supposed to report progress. So I said, okay, give me a few days, I'll report progress. He said, fine. So I went later on, made a PowerPoint presentation of my activities as the chair then, the meetings we've held, the timeline of events, the action plans. And then I went back to him and I was like, okay, sir, I'm ready to tender my progress report. And then he went, okay, where is it? And then I opened my laptop and I was like, okay, this is it. And he laughed. And I was like, oh, why are you laughing, sir? He said, don't I know the meaning of reporting progress? And I said, I thought it's to give you a feedback on my activities so far. And then he now referred me to a senior senator. He said, why don't you go meet this person and let him educate you on what report progress means. So I went to meet the senator and I was like, sir, I usually respect anyone who knows me will know that I respect my colleagues, even though I respect my seniors, even though we're colleagues. So I went, sir, I was told to approach you so you will guide me on what reporting progress meant. And he laughed. He was like, it means I should give kickbacks to him. I was like, what do you mean kickbacks? He said money, projects, other perks. And I was like, how do you mean I need to return? He said, well, as a chairman of committee, and I'm saying this is me. I don't know if this happens to other as a chairman, but if anyone is courageous enough, they could probably speak. So it's more like the Senate president tasking the chairman of all the committees that periodically they're supposed to bring money to him or jobs. And I went, how am I supposed to make money and report to the Senate president? And he said, well, I have to harass the agencies or the ministers that report to me. And for me, since I was chairperson local content, that means I have the Minister of Petroleum. I have also the Minister of Gas, who is the co-chair, who was made later on the co-chairman of the board. Then I also have the Executive Secretary, Engineer Felix. So that means I'm supposed to harass them for returns, to periodically give money to the Senate president or jobs. And I was like, I can't do that. And they were like, well, that's the norm under him. So I had to. So I later on went to the Senate president. I was like, sir, I understand what report progress means, but unfortunately, I can't do that. I also told my husband that. I was like, wow, so it means it's more like you extort or harass so that you can pacify or parley the Senate president in order to keep your position. So I didn't do that. And he later, a number of times, he was like, Natasha, if you don't know how to harass the chairman, that means you don't, if you don't know how to harass the ministers, that and the executive secretary of local content, that means you're not capable of running the committee. So that means to the Senate president AKPABIO, deliverables are not tied to objectivity and performance. It's more like what returns come to him. And I know a number of times he has told me to invite to bring the chairman, the executive secretary over to him, but I refused. Till date, I never forced or coerced any of the ministers to meet with him. If they met the Senate president and parleyed on their own, I don't know about that, but on me. So that's just to give you an idea of the coercion that happens behind the scene that people don't know. And when people think of, oh, budget padding, that many people do blame the senators. I don't know about it. I've never padded budget, but I've seen the unnecessary pressure that a number of senators have to face, not because they were willing to do it for themselves, but because they have to satisfy some political lords right in the Senate there. So that's just one example of the pressure and what it means to, and let me say this again. Yesterday, I saw a video of a senator, Senator Sani Musa, who was asked to define, what's it called? Harmonize the word I don't know if you saw it, was trending. And I will say this, Senator Sani Musa is one of the most intelligent senators right there. But they say what I saw there was just the Senate president putting him on the spot. And as a human being, so sometimes when, like, it was to me, it's an intentional act to ridicule him. And that's how the Senate president acts sometimes. He just calls on you and makes a joke, makes a remark, and he thinks you should laugh at that remark, because that's happened to me a number of times. Either he objectifies my body, how I look, how I act, how I'm talking, and most of the time it's always sexualized. And that is what people should know, that as a boss, he's not supposed to do that, because we're all colleagues and we all have to be respected. So
Senator, you just made some serious allegations, by the way, which, because I don't want you getting another lawsuit because you came on my show, but you've just made some serious allegations again about the Senate president.
Reporting progress. That's it. He always asks several times. Listen, he said if any senator wants to be honest, they'll say the chairman committee. He's asked me a number of times report progress, and he's threatening to remove me as a chair. And let me say this, I should have probably sent you after the groundbreaking ceremony of the 5 mini LNG plants. That was what actually, like I said, there was a sexual harassment part, but then it got to a point where if Natasha is going to succeed, she has to succeed under my wings. She can't just be thriving. She won Senator of the Year. She did a fantastic 1-year celebration, all of this, while my success should be connected to his own approvals as someone who is involved with him. That's how he wanted it to be. So on the 30th of January, after the groundbreaking ceremony, I was removed as a chairperson 4 days after that. He actually called my colleague, who is the chairman committee on gas, Senator Jarigbe. I have his text messages. I hope it doesn't contravene anything, because I would love to screenshot it and show Nigerians.
Okay, so while you're looking
at that message proves that there was some harassment, sort of like trying to find out why who approved the 5 LNG plants in Kogi, and how come he wasn't taken in the know of it. Not only did he question Senator Jarigbe, Senator AKPABIO also called the Minister of Gas and the Executive Secretary Local Content. I questioned them as to how those gas plants ended up in Kogi State without his knowledge. And I will say this, he actually told some people, but I'm not going to mention their names, that he believed I was settled mightily for that. And I say this to Nigerians, I never got a kobo for that from that gas plant. In short, it's just an honor that those 5 LNG plants are situated in Kogi State, in my senatorial district, upon the approval of the president himself. And that actually is part of the gasification of the northern part of Nigeria. So, I mean, if we're one country, then we should support each other. Each region should support each other's strength. So let me send you this screenshot, please. It's very important to see this.
I want you to be able to express yourself, but also keep in mind there's so many topics that we would love to cover. Now, a lot of Nigerians...
I've sent you, so we can round this part up, I've sent you Senator Jarigbe's message to me that morning. The morning I was removed as chair of the committee. You could tell from his tone that the leadership of the National Assembly were questioning the citation of the plants in Kogi. You can put the text up there. Senator Jarigbe, I'm so sorry I have to do this.
Okay, so would this be implicate Senator Jarigbe in any way?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Okay. I don't think. He's a nice person, and the truth is, he too wasn't aware of it. He only got to know about the gas plant a few days before the groundbreaking. Like I
Okay.
told you, it was an executive order from the president. And also, one thing is, anyway,
Okay.
let's leave
Let's
it
take
at
it
this.
one. Let's take it one at a time. Don't forget, I have only asked one question, and like I said, I have a million questions. I can already see in the
Yes, fine.
comment section, people have a lot of questions for you. Now, a lot of Nigerians have also been saying that, um, of course, now your suspension has been like since March.
This is the 84th day. We're 84 days into my suspension.
It's been
84
8.
days that my entire Central District have been denied representation. And 84 days since, I would say, a quarter of Nigerian women. If Nigerian women are a population of about 100 million and we have 4 female senators, so that means I could, on a ratio of 1 to 25 million people. So 25 million people that would have benefited from my voice, who as a woman have also been silenced. Let me thank you so much for this. I would say this categorically. I have never accused any other person of sexual harassment apart from Senator AKPABIO. I never accused Yahaya Bello of sexual harassment. And I never accused Reno Omokri of sexual harassment. I don't know if you have that screenshot of the text message that I sent.
Okay.
That was the text message that started the whole thing. And I think this is, if Nigerians can go back to the post, it was like, this is my response to one of his posts on Facebook in the year 2019 or 2020. And I said, hey, it was a conversation whereby he was attacking one of my wards, a girl who felt really bad. And then she was being dragged. So I went there and I made this statement, like, I understand how boring and bitter life must be for you away in the US on asylum. No more access to your numerous iPhone 2 girlfriends, most of whom you got into show P through your office as an SA to the president, to President Goodluck Jonathan. Weren't you married then? I rejected your silly advances in 2014 at the Villa's Banquet Hall during President Uhuru Kenyatta's reciprocated visit. I gave you a fake name and a fake phone number, but so it just pretty much ended after that. So if anyone can actually go to the post, you'll be able to extract the full one. I will appreciate it. So here it is. That is the only time. I mean, that does not amount to sexual harassment. What I said is, we were at an event and he walked to me, being friendly, asked for my number, asked for my name. I gave him a fake name, a fake number. So we never got in touch because it was fake name and fake number. So the bone of contention at that point was that he said he wasn't in the country, that it wasn't him I saw. There must have been somebody else. But I insisted that no, I saw you, and that was what transpired. And then that's how the whole thing ended. He put up pictures of his passport with a stamp, and he also presented a ticket which proves that he wasn't in the country at that time. But I naturally, I was like, you know what? We know how people get the stamps. Sometimes people like, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to, I'm not trying to implicate the immigration so, but there's what they call the Uluwole passport and all of this stuff. So I was like, I can sit here and get my travel agent to generate 5 tickets to different countries, and that doesn't mean I really travel. So it was more like, was he the one I saw at the villa? Wasn't he the one I saw at the villa? Did he travel? Was he in the country? That was it. Was never sexual harassment. I never accused Reno Omokri of sexual harassment ever. So I was actually surprised when an incident that happened years back, where it was not reported as sexual harassment, suddenly became a sexual harassment matter, like him adding the voice to it. I'm surprised. And on the minister where he said I spoke, I remember it was on the floor. One senator, Senator Fashusi from Ekiti State, Cyril, Senator Cyril made a statement that, oh, I actually accused his former governor, His Excellency Fayemi, of sexual harassment. I never did, and I'm so glad that he actually came up to clear the air that I never accused him. So I didn't accuse Yahaya Bello. We never had any relationship whatsoever that was in that line. It was more political, him antagonizing my election in 2019 and then 2023. So the Senate President Godswill Akpabio is the first Nigerian man that I'm actually coming up to speak against sexual harassment. But that does not mean, let me say this, that does not mean that I've not been sexually harassed by others in the past, right, from my university days, because sexual harassment happens so rampantly to many Nigerian women. I can bet you if Nigerian women are to do Me Too, we will probably see a ratio of about 80% of Nigerian women, and people don't really understand what sexual harassment is. They think that it's like rape. Do you understand? It could happen like wrong gestures. It could be denial of rights or dues just because the woman has not given in. You know, there are people who make passes at me, and I just joke about, like, please excuse me, I'm married, and have you seen my husband? Flat tummy, dark, handsome, please, you can't match him, and it ends there. So there are times when we just make a joke, Natasha, but you're fine, I want to say, excuse me, please, so look at your pot belly, where would you put this body? We just joke about it and it ends there. Do you understand? But when a person makes advances at you and he doesn't take no for an answer, probably because he feels it massages the ego or whatever, and then it now begins to inhibit into your work or turns to malice. That now becomes harassment when the person doesn't take your no for an answer. So that's what it is. And of course, like I said, I've subjected myself. Indeed, I saw issues, statements on the news about the presidential panel being set up. Yes, I was contacted. I think it's the first week of April or so.
Reno said you paid him. Did you pay
Who
Reno
paid him?
money?
I didn't pay him. I didn't pay him nothing. I don't know what he's talking about. He should bring proof. I didn't pay Reno nothing. I know he said my husband paid him. That was what he said. And I asked my husband. My husband said, no, he never did. So he should bring proof of that. You can't just come and say, I accuse you. Yes, I think as a matter of fact, I should maybe, if this continues, and I will have to take action whereby he would then have to present proof of where I accuse him of sexual harassment and where such payments were made, because you can't just wake up one morning and begin to lie against me just because you want to favor the party in power, which I respect his views. The fact that he has shifted from antagonizing the president to being one of the great supporters, that's fine. That's the beauty of politics, I think. We're all at liberty to make our choices. But I think it's really wrong when you want to please someone, then you go overboard just to attack me or manipulate whatever happened. And like I said, there was a presidential committee panel set up. I was approached, that was early April or so, and asked if I'll be willing to submit myself to the panel to investigate. I was like, of course. They made me understand that it's going to be a panel made up of APC members, and I was like, of course, as long as it will be objective and fair. The fact that I'm PDP in the opposition doesn't really matter. All that matters for me is that I'll be given a chance to tender my evidences and my complaints. And they said, okay. So I was told to recommend somebody, which I did. But later on, I was told that the Senate president pulled out of it, and that's fine. But one more thing, again, that I've seen people questioned: why did I just speak up? Why didn't I speak up? Something that happened over a month, a year ago. Let me tell you this: speaking up on sexual harassment is one of the most difficult things anyone can do. And many women actually go to their graves with that. Many men live with their wives without knowing that their wives are being sexually harassed at workplaces or because they're scared of being judged. And right now we keep seeing a lot of men complain that the DNAs go wrong, that the children their wives birthed are not theirs. But the men should sit back and wonder, why do they think some of these things go wrong? They sleep with their wives go to the office, and for any promotion, her boss sleeps with her. So along this line, babies will be born who do not belong to their husbands because the woman is not given a fair chance to speak of whatever disadvantages she's faced. And somehow sexual harassment has become a norm in Nigeria. It's almost like, do you know, there were actually women that approached me and said, Natasha, you are slacking. The number 3 citizen was making pass at you and you didn't take advantage of that. So, but then the thing there is, I didn't speak up because I want any monetary remuneration or I want some reward. There's pretty much nothing the Senate president would do for me that God has not blessed me with. I thank God I am already a self-made woman, and then my husband is comfortable enough to take care of my needs. Mind you, I told you that the Senate president and my husband were friends, and my husband really played a pivotal role in supporting him to become a senator in the first place and even become a Senate president. It's no hidden news. So what else? I didn't speak up because I want Senator AKPABIO to settle me out of money. I just wanted to tell my story and let him give me a chance to work because the environment was already toxic. For the past 7 months before my suspension, I stopped eating in the cafeteria. Senators would testify. Like normally, I don't like eating breakfast in the morning. So I look forward to eating after sessions. We have a canteen where all the senators go. Well, most senators go, and it's free lunch. So I usually join my colleagues to eat then. But and after eating about 2, 3 p.m., I'll go to work, to my office, and stay there till 5, 6 p.m. But since the environment became uncomfortable, I stopped going to the cafeteria. So that means every morning I will only eat at evening time when I get back home. So I was still hungry just because I was avoiding being in the same space with him, because he could just utter words and everybody there will laugh without thinking of how it will affect me, or he'll make statements and all that. So yeah, I didn't speak up because I wanted any settlement. I didn't want any money out of it. I didn't want, and neither do I did I was I seeking him to be arrested or anything? I mean, ordinarily in a sense that society, people who harass women should be punished. But I mean, Nigeria, I don't think we have gotten our institutions or societal orders have matured to that level. But I just wanted him to give me space to work, because I was harassed almost continuously at that point. I don't have 6 children for 6 men, like he said. No, I have just 4 biological children. And
Yeah.
I know I forgot that part. I don't know why you didn't play it. It's somewhere in the video where he said, I have 6 children, I have 6 men. And even if I have 6 children for 6 men, I don't have 6 children. I have 4 biological children, but in total, with my stepkids, we're all eight children in total. So, but even if I have 6 children for 6 men, that does not invalidate the fact that if I speak of sexual harassment, it should not be investigated. And that does not make me a bad person.
So one of the things that he also said was that you sued your husband, you forced him to marry you. Was that all made up, or did you
That's
indeed force him?
all. That's all made up. That's all made up. I didn't coerce my husband. We're actually in court on that. As a matter of fact, he was avoiding service. So 2 days ago, or yesterday, the court granted the substitute order permit. So I believe it's on the papers now, and it could be pasted in his office or at the gates of the National Assembly that he's served, so that he will attend to the case, the charges there. I
Okay.
didn't I didn't coerce my husband. My husband's such an amazing person. I mean, Adiola, he's an amazing person. He's been my strength through these challenging times, even before, even throughout my elections. I actually pray that more women in politics, which are women in Nigeria, will be lucky enough to have a man as supportive as my husband. You know, sexual harassment did happen a number of times. And yes, I do have my evidence, and I will tender the evidence at the appropriate place. Like I did say, we do. I thought the Committee on Ethics and Privileges will be the first place for me to tender my evidence, but that did not happen. And then I thought also the presidential panel will be another place, but that also did not happen. So at the next opportunity that I have to tender my evidence, which I also have witnesses,
So
you
they
know,
didn't let you tender your evidence at
I
the
was
panel?
never called upon to speak. No, that was never called upon. I wasn't, never. I was never
Okay.
called anywhere. There's never been an inquiry into that where I was called to tender my case.
Okay.
Had several petitions written to all the security agencies, and unfortunately, there's been no investigation. And these petitions are all interwoven from threat to life, withdrawal of my security, assassination attempts. That when Sandra Duru made the live video on the 1st of May, I did write my first petition against her on the 6th of May. I think I did send you a copy. And then after the interview where Frances and Obina spoke up, we then had to make another interview because we could then see that there was a connection with the Senate president. So we now wrote another one against Sandra Duru and the Senate president. That was on the 15th of May. And unfortunately, none of these petitions have been investigated. And but when my lawyers went public with this, with the cause that there is bias in the investigation, in the activities of the police. That was 4 days ago. My lawyers went public with that. Surprisingly, yesterday my lawyer told me that they received a letter of notice of investigation from the Inspector General of Police's monitoring unit. Just yesterday, my lawyer told me. So, and the question I have in mind now
This
is,
was the one against Senator Peter Oyekachu Nweboyi.
yeah,
This,
but when they didn't respond, so we went to court.
and this was the one against Sandra Duru,
Yes,
right?
this was on the 6th of May. If you see 6th of May, just right after her, where I
Okay.
mentioned that all those things she said, that I called Nigerian gullible and hungry. I offered to pay her 200 million to blackmail AKPABIO, that I said I'm there to destroy the Yoruba government. I listed everything, that's all false and they should investigate. Nothing happened on that. What is this one? This was 4th of April. The plot to assassinate me. Yes, I did write this. Before I even went to, I wrote a petition before I even made an appearance on Shewa Kimbaloy's show. If you watch
So,
that video, if you watch the interview on Shewa Kimbaloy's, I did make reference that it is considerable threat to my life, and that
and
the
then this
Senate
one is
president
against
had
the
met.
president. So has any of
Yes,
this, has any
no,
of these
no,
petitions been addressed?
no, not one of them, not one of them. But like I said, if you can, there's one other document I sent to you, the
This
one that
one?
was, no, not that one.
Okay. Which
Not that
documents?
one. Let me highlight it. Sorry.
And what does the document say? That now they would address the petitions?
Yes, yes, this. I've just highlighted this.
Okay. Awesome. I do have that. Okay, so what does the document say while I'm
So that document just notifies me that they want to commence investigation. And this was just after my lawyers went public that my numerous petitions were not receiving attention, and instead is the response, is the only petition the Senate President and AKPABIO wrote against me, that I'm defaming them by crying out of the assassination, that's what the case the federal government initiated against me. So it's more like I came out, I wrote petitions, drawing attention to the assassination attempt, risk of my life, and that wasn't attended to. And yet the Senate President and Yahaya Bello, Governor Yahaya Bello, wrote their own petitions, outcrying that I defamed them by speaking out. And then that is a petition that I am being charged for conspiracy, what's it called? Criminal defamation. Yeah. So this is it. It was just signed on the 27th. My lawyer received it. If you look at the stamp at the bottom, on the evening 2 days ago. So yesterday, my lawyer told me. And if you read it, there was no date mentioned. Like, in view of the foregoing, you are kindly requested to inform your client, that's distinguished Senator Natasha Potidwaha, to attend an interview with the head of the IGP monitoring unit at the first floor. Blah. There was no date to it. So no date, that means it's just like a vacuum. But this was, I received this yesterday. So, but then again, look at it. Is this not what they ought to have done before charging me to court? I have
so
written
you're
petitions. So
saying that
now
they should have addressed your own
they
petitions
should have, yeah, they
or
should have addressed it.
addressing
They should,
Senator Akpabio's petitions?
yes, they should have. I mean, I was the one who went to the police first. In short, my first petition was when the Senate President stripped me of my security. I did complain to the police that, look, I'm in harm's way, considering the fact that I had quite a violent election, and there has never been a time when the governor, Yahaya Bello, has ever given me a chance to breathe. I've always had to sleep with one eye open. So I was like, me being without security has made me quite vulnerable. And if you recall, the day I was suspended, the former Senate President Ahmed Lawal did raise that concern and pleaded with the Senate President to allow me retain my police officers, but then that was turned down. So I did write to the police. Nothing was done to that. And then there were attacks also to my home. in my village, whereby my younger brother traveled home, and they thought I was the one there. So they attacked our home. And that was also on the news. There was an investigation whereby the police command in Kogi visited my home and did affirm that there was indeed an attack. And prior to that, remember the incident where I went home on with the helicopter, which is on the 1st of April? 1st of April. A day to that, which is on the 31st of March, my chief protocol officer in Kogi, Honorable Jude Sule, he was abducted from his home by men in armed uniform, and he was questioned about my movement. He was questioned as to whether I was going to be in Kogi and which route I was going to take, and the man failed to honor them with any response. He was kept for 2 days before dropped at the police station in Okini. It's on record there in Kogi that the man was there. So there were considerable attempts to monitor my movement, track me, hunt me. And like I did mention, there was actually a meeting between Yahaya Bello and AKPABIO and the night of the 14th of March,
So that's all right.
2025, where they did plan to assassinate me and to recall me. And when I did call, after that information, I did call a few press houses to tell them that, look, there was going to be a recall and there was also an assassination attempt, but then they asked for written proof before the press could have carried that story. But then there was no written proof, like, like a statement of a recall. But then suddenly, after 3 days after that, the recall news broke up. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's. These are also like strong allegations, but you are defending yourself